Hello everybody, welcome to a special edition of Art Whisperer 88. I have switched my gel plate size to an 8 by 10. Here's a long shot so you can see the scale of it. And then this is my placement tool, another gift from the wonderful people at jellyarts.com. And I am going to tackle kind of a complicated subject matter today. It's all about stencils. I will give you a very brief history of stencils. Now, the first evidence of a stencil were cave paintings, and these were about 40,000 years ago. The inhabitants of the caves felt a need to decorate the walls of the caves, and they used their hands as a stencil basically. So they blew liquid pigment with I think they were pieces of bone or hollowed out stems of plants, and they created these interesting images of the imprints of their hands. So that is the first evidence of stencil art in the Paleolithic period. Now, after that, in ancient Egypt, stencils were used to decorate temples and religious objects. In ancient China, they devised paper stencils, and this revolutionized the technology at the time. They could use the paper stencils to create wall murals. It made painting the walls with a pattern so much faster. The Japanese perfected the stencils for printing on fabric. Here's an example. It's indigo dye printed on fabric with the help of these beautiful stencils. Stencils were also used in the military for making signs and facilitating communication. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the popularity of wall decor was instrumental in the proliferation of different kinds of stencils to decorate the walls. It's for people who could not afford the expensive wallpaper. They use the stencils, and here's an example of a decorated room with a stenciled wall. So stencils have come a long way now in the modern times. More often than not, they're made of plastic. They're very similar to the stencils that I make. Here they are. These are the plastic stencils, which I cut out myself. Which brings me to project today is I want to make an edition. An edition, in other words, I want to create a series of prints that are very similar using stencils. Now, the gel plate really is meant to be a device for creating unique prints, but I think it's possible to create an edition of prints from using a gel plate. So I'm going to give this a try, and I will be using this 8 by 10 as my device. I will be back in a few minutes. Okay, everybody, here we are at the first part of making an edition. So my first step is to ink the plate with the background color, which is black. This is my trusty Mars Black by Blick Acrylic. Just have to be careful not to put too much because I'm scaling down my size. I'm just going to add some scribble marks for texture. And I'm using my silicone tool. And this is my Strathmore watercolor paper. Now this is 11 by 15. So I'm going to lay this down on the placement tool. I'll just let this sit for a couple of minutes, just to give the paper a chance to absorb the paint. Okay, let's see how we made out. Okay, so this is a good first layer. See, as you can see, there's some textures there. So I'm just going to keep going with the first layer. Since this is an addition, I'm going to do three of the same thing. Now there will be a slight difference with the scribble marks, but the general appearance will be the same because the stencils will be the same. You will see in a moment. Okay. By the way, the paper is Strathmore. It's cold press. It's the Series 300 and it's 11 by 15, which is ideal for this 8 by 10 size. Okay. I think I forgot to put the scribbles, but that's okay. So now the next step is to use my first layer stencil, which is this. So I will place it like so. Actually, I'm going to adjust it. Now, since this is an edition, I want to make the final result as similar as possible. I'm going to use a clean brayer to flatten this out. Okay. So the next color will be graphite, which is by Amsterdam. So in order to spread the paint, I will use a brush because it's a little more precise. So here's the first layer. I'm going to give this a couple of minutes to absorb the paint. Pretty cool. I like the interaction of the graphite and the black. Okay, on to the next one. Now here's the tricky part. I will try to make these coincide. I'm going to use the shadow as a guide. I'm going to flatten this out with my clean brayer. There we go. Now making an addition with a Gelli plate is a little more tedious because you have to repeat the whole process over and over again for each piece. In contrast, when you do silkscreen, it's a very fast process because each layer goes on very, very fast. Now, for those of you familiar with silkscreen, a good example is printing on t-shirts. You'll start with one color and then start printing, let's say, 50 pieces. You clean up your screen and then go on to the next color and then print another 50 pieces with the same different color, and so on and so on. So it's really a process that is ideal for mass production. Now this one is a little more, how should I say, artisanal, meaning that each copy, each piece is handcrafted. So there are slight variations for each piece because they're all done by hand. This piece number 2. I'll give the paper a chance to absorb all the paint. Okay, not too bad. Okay, and on to the last one. This last one will be slightly different because there are no scribbles. But the difference will be very subtle. Okay. I'll go ahead and wash this. Okay. I like that. Okay, so now that I have the second layer, I will proceed on to the next and last layer. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, this is my last layer. I cut this out off camera because it's a little tedious. So I will lay this down like so. Again, I will flatten this out. I'm just pressing very gently. Okay. Now my last layer is iridescent white, and since I use it so much, I got a large tub. Now this is Soho acrylic, and this is 16.9 ounces. So it's quite a lot, but I think this will last me a long time. And I do use it a lot, because I love iridescent colors. So I will just dab with my brush. I'm trying not to put too much because a little goes a long way, especially with an iridescent color, because it's reflective. It kind of shimmers in the light. And that's what I like about it. Okay. So here is the first pull. check this out. So on to the next one. Now there's a very slight shadow of the residue, so I'm using that as my guide where to place this. Now I have this piece of paper here because there's glare from the overhead lights, because this is a shiny acrylic. Here's the second one. There's a little bit of missing parts here, but that's all right. So on to the last one. I'm going to add a little more on the top because it didn't transfer. And this is what I mean by there's slight variances, because each layer is done by hand. So there's a lot of variables. Like if the paint is too little or if the paint is too much, you get different results. So here's the last one. Hopefully it will be a better transfer. Give me a chance to wash this out. Okay, let's see how we made out. I think this is much better. See, there's a slight difference because there's a thicker layer of paint, so I have these extra textures. So they're different variations of the same theme. So I will air dry all of this and then I will recap. Okay, here we are at the last leg of this journey. I'm laying these out side by side so you can see the subtle variations of each print. Now I will give you close-ups. So here's the first one. This is the one with the scribble marks. And this is print number 2. The top part didn't transfer too much, but the other shapes are fine. And then here's the last one, which is different from the other two. The last layer has more of a three-dimensional effect because it's applied much heavier. Nevertheless, it's interesting. It's like corroded metal or peeling paint. So there you have it. So let me show you how I'm going to sign these since it's an edition. I will start with this one. I'm going to title this Black Knight. And here's the edition number 1/3 because there are 3 images. And this will be 2/3. And here is the last one. Three over 3. Okay, so I hope you liked this video. If you liked that little history lesson about stencils. Now, as a grand finale, I'm going to feature some submissions, very talented viewers from all over the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.